Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, lots of flying today. Lincolnshire Gliding Club takes to the skies. Aerial drones race over northeast Lincolnshire. And back down to earth, I'll be talking to Gavin Marshall about his sponsored static bike ride. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. But first of all, it's over to Erica Barker for the news headlines.
Hello, the headlines today. With the Tour de Yorkshire now only days away, keen cyclists wanting to follow in the professionals' footsteps and follow the same routes are being urged to adhere to safety advice. Safer Roads, however, has developed an app including videos of the routes and tips on how to tackle them.
Oh, definitely. We've already had about 10 or 20 people download the app, and we only launched it last week. And as it goes on, we're hoping they will. What we found last year is that as we got closer to the race, the more people downloaded it and actually watched it to see kind of what the cyclists themselves would face. And we were kind of expecting the same thing this time.
Police are warning motorists in Hull and East Yorkshire to be vigilant after 15 cars were stolen following burglaries where car keys were taken since the beginning of the month. Undersigned police say the majority of the offences have occurred overnight and offenders have entered homes through unlocked windows and doors before taking car keys. North Lincolnshire Council is urging people of all ages to get active now only days away. Keen cyclists wanting to follow and continually looking to expand the variety of classes they have to offer with activities to suit every age without breaking the bank, and are encouraging novices to get involved.
Not everybody wants the same thing. You know, everybody's different. Not everyone wants to exercise at the same time. So we offer a whole range of things across the council, and we've got 5 local leisure facilities that offer a variety of activities throughout the day, from classes, swimming to gym. We offer activities in the community, so you know, jogging in your local park, activities on local playing fields. We're even looking at new activities that we want to introduce, like roller skating.
Affordable housing provider Shoreline is to build 4 new 2-bedroom homes in Grimsby as they continue to invest in the properties across the borough. The rental properties will be built off St Ives Crescent in the town, with work due to commence in May. And new self-check-in kiosks are up and running in the outpatients department at Grimsby's Diana Princess of Wales Hospital. As part of a £25,000 investment, the hospital say the cutting-edge technology will allow patients to book themselves in, cutting reception waiting times. Until next time, goodbye.
Lincolnshire, the flight deck of England, is well used to the thunder of the Lancaster and the scream of the Typhoon. But engines are not always necessary for aviation. The Lincolnshire Gliding Club silently soars above the county, and groups in the community are welcome to take a joyride. Richard Morris wings it.
The Lincolnshire Gliding Club may run all year round, but now it's coming up to their busy season. The club may have fewer members than other similar interest groups, but the people are just as committed.
I first started flying in 1956 when I was in the RAF, and it's always been in my blood, if you like. I had a long rest after that, and then took up powered flying, started flying the powered, and then decided one day, I'd moved here a long time ago, and decided that I wanted to take up gliding again. So I just drove onto the grounds here, came to the caravan and took my checkbook out and said, how much is it to join? And this is a long time ago. So they told me, and I just paid the check, and I've been here ever since, which was 1982. Yeah, I've had about 14,000 flights. That includes solo and dual. I've had about 12,000 instructional flights where I've taken pilots up, teaching them to fly. Right from scratch, we've flown hundreds of disadvantaged children, and they absolutely loved it.
Using gliding as a form of flight has been an important part of aviation history, with the earliest gliders created in the mid-1800s. The flight times of gliders may come as a surprise to many.
Depends really, bear in mind there's limited facilities inside there. Depends how long you want to sit there. My longest flight from here is 6 hours. I've flown from here to Peterborough, Newark. Once I got just north of Humber and came back. So you can actually cover some distance.
As well as the freedom, the chief flying instructor also likes the challenge that each flight creates for him.
90% of it becomes a navigation exercise, just like a motorboat. But if we have to use experience to find the conditions to stay in the air, and then if you don't stay in there, you have to use experience to find the conditions in the right place to land. So there's always something to decide on. Every minute you're up there, there's a decision to be made. And that decision will not be the same decision you made yesterday.
Gavin Marshall will ride a bike the distance between the Royal Air Force Association in Cleethorpes and the RAF Benevolent Fund HQ in London to raise funds for the Cleethorpes Association. During this 154-mile ride, he will not move from the spot as he'll cycle a static bike travelling a computer-generated route on a large-scale map. And he joins me now. Gavin, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Hugh.
Before we talk about the bike ride, we've just seen a film about gliders, which seems a bit tactless to show to a man who spent 32 years working on engines of jet fighters.
Yeah, it does, but fundamentally I was an airframe tradesman, so it's still an airframe, and I did actually enjoy some gliding while I was in the Air Force.
Okay, you had your head under the bonnet of everything from lightnings to typhoons.
I did.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's just talk about the bike ride. Why are you doing it?
The RAF Association at Cleethorpes needs some money. We needed to do something fundraising, and really I needed to lose a bit of weight and do something worthwhile, so I decided I would cycle from Cleethorpes to London, and rather than disappear for the day, I would do it statically so people could see.
So where and when will this event take place?
Saturday the 11th of July outside the Royal Air Force Association in Cleethorpes on Alexandra Road, and I'll be sat on the bike on the front pedalling away from 9 in the morning till 9 at night.
So you're going to make this 154-mile ride in 12 hours.
Yes.
You're going to be saddle sore.
I am, yes, but I'm working up to getting a little bit of tolerance towards that, and yeah, hopefully I should be okay. I'm allowing myself 5 minutes every hour just to have a quick stretch and a comfort break.
You need to raise quite a lot of money, I guess. It's an old building, it's a 19th century building that needs renovation. How much are you hoping to raise?
Well, I'm hoping to raise up to £10,000 on the day, but really we need to raise £30,000 for the restoration of the third floor.
How can people take part, get in touch, offer support?
They can come down to the Royal Air Force Association on Alexandra Road on the Saturday, or they can contact myself or the President at the Royal Air Force Association, 5 Alexandra Road.
Now, you're going to have to have been in a certain amount of training for this. You mentioned that you have to lose some weight. You've had some health scares recently, which we'll go on to talk about a bit, but what sort of training schedule are you setting yourself?
Well, at the moment I'm doing hour sessions up to 2 hour sessions, a couple of times a day, every other day, and just cycling, getting used to the time, getting used to the mileage and keeping the speed up. The aim is to never drop below 20 miles an hour. So currently I'm cycling about 23, 24 miles an hour for a couple of hours.
And these static bikes, of course, they can be set to be cruising downhill all the way to London, or they can be set to be some horrible, great Tour de France mountain climb. Yeah. Are you going to give yourself an easy time?
No, I'm just going to flat road all the way. So it is set just to give me minimum resistance of a flat road, and that's it. So hopefully no hills.
Even in midsummer in Cleethorpes, you could be battling gale force winds and horizontal rain.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm prepared for snow. We've got a parasol, a marquee above me, so it'll keep the sun off, it'll keep the rain off, but at least I'll get some fresh air, and we'll have some fans there as well just to aid the cooling. And
there will be this sort of virtual aspect in that there'll be a large-scale map that I suppose you can look at to navigate. Don't want you to get lost, and people can see what your progress is.
They'll be able to see, I'll have something to monitor my speed, something to monitor the distance and the time, and people will be able to see that, and they'll be able to see exactly where I am on the map.
Gavin, absolutely brilliant event. Don't go away, we'll talk a bit more about it in a second or two. When we think of flying drones, we think either of the Army's Predator drones carrying missiles and bombs, or of drones used for TV filming. Now drones could find a new use on the racing circuit with their inaugural Grand Prix featuring competition over Grimsby. Dave Nunn is remote controlled.
Drones are tools which are becoming more commonplace in everyday life. They've been in use in the military for several years, and Amazon is piloting drones as a delivery method this year in the US. Now FPV is setting up a drone racing circuit in the UK featuring a race in Grimsby, But how exactly does it work?
FPV stands for first person view. Basically what we do is we put a small camera on the front of the craft and we fly it through a set of goggles as though we're actually sat at the front of it. So we're flying with a pilot's eye view around a course which has been set up. We'd obviously all start from a start-finish line. We would go through obstacles, be that natural obstacles of trees, or in the case of what's behind me, an air gate that we've set up with other slaloms and things. We would then race either against the clock or for a certain number of laps, and the fastest guy wins.
Drones for non-military use have only really come into public knowledge in the last year, and there's not a shortage of pilots for the first UK Grand Prix to demonstrate what is an adrenaline-fuelled sport.
It's a big interest. We've got a big following of this. The sport worldwide has got a massive following. We're setting up for the event here for around 20 to 30 pilots, which we're expecting to have on the day. It is, yeah. We've got it right at the sort of infancy and the outset of the sport. Drones get a bit of a negative press anyway, and what we're trying to do is bring it more into the public eye. There is a fun side of it. There is quite a lot of adrenaline involved with racing it, which it sounds quite silly, but when you're flying and all you can see is what they see from the front of it, it really can. It gets the heart racing.
Events like the FPV Grand Prix and its Grimsby race are pioneering what could become a new mainstream sport, and it's something that Ben and other pilots get excited about.
We were hoping so. I mean, that's what we're hoping to set up. We've recently joined forces with several other race leagues across the UK to set up a UK national championship, and we will be crowning our UK FPV champion as well.
Gavin Marshall is still with me. Gavin, this is going to be a remarkable bike ride you're doing on Cleethorpes front. You have your own connection with the RAF, I suspect, and I make that guess just by the look of your moustache.
Yeah, 32 years. I retired 5 years ago, but 32 years on fighters. So.
And what were you doing? What was your connection?
I was an aircraft engineer. Started on Lightnings, onto Tornado F3s, Red Arrows, Harriers, back to Red Arrows, finished off on Typhoons.
Well, that's 2 generations worth of fighter jets that you were working on there. Yeah. Presumably you've got close links with this part of the country, with the Lincolnshire part of the country.
I actually originate from Cleethorpes, moved away in 1978 and built a house here, 84, and lived here ever since.
And the Red Arrows are an iconic aspect of British aviation, of course. How safe is their future?
Until 2018, the aircraft are still guaranteed. After 2018, it's still an open book, and there is no planned replacement aircraft at the moment.
Well, that's grim news. Nevertheless, the Cleethorpes Royal Air Force Association, it's an important cause. The building needs rebuilding. That's what you're working towards. What is the importance of the association in Cleethorpes? What work does it do?
Fundamentally, our job is for welfare. And support for ex-members and current serving members of the Royal Air Force. People are always welcome to attend the club. We can offer them help, we can offer them advice, and we can offer them support. That's all we really...
And there's also a social aspect to it. The people who have this remarkable thing in common can come together and gather and have a drink together.
Absolutely. Military people, once they leave the service, tend to miss the military conversation. And that's still available within the club. So
just go and talk about aeroplanes all the time?
We don't talk all about aeroplanes all the time, no, for sure. But we have a sense of humour which is not commonly understood.
Okay. I think maybe this bike ride is part of it. You're doing this, of course, to raise money for the association, but it's all the more remarkable because you've had your own health problems recently. You said you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah, well, the actual cycle ride is on the anniversary of me rupturing my spine and going in for spinal surgery. I spent 20 weeks in bed, and subsequently I've led a sedentary life and put a little bit of weight on, and now I feel I'm in a position I want to lose that and benefit somebody with my improvement.
How much weight have you lost and how much do you intend still to lose?
Currently I've lost 8 kilos since February, and I hope to lose at least another 5.
There'll be nothing of you, Gavin.
Well, I'll get back to my old fighting weight.
Your old fighting weight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Terrifying to rupture your spine and be out of action for so long.
Yeah, it was quite frightening. I'd had backache for a couple of years, and then eventually it went. I was unable to walk and unable to straighten my legs.
Okay. Well, you will be straightening and unstraightening your legs very frequently on the day of this bicycle ride. Just to quickly remind us of the date and the location.
Saturday, 11th of July, Royal Air Force Association, Alexandra Road.
Static bicycle ride to raise money for that building.
Absolutely.
Gavin, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Time now for our weekly reflections. These thoughts from Canon Andrew Dodd, Dean of North East Lincolnshire.
As the countdown to the general election continues, the Church has waded into the political debate. Last week here at Grimsby Minster, we hosted the local hustings for the Great Grimsby constituency, and it was a very lively event. Another example is in a book of essays that's recently been published by the Archbishop of York. And in it, church leaders accuse Britain's politicians of abandoning some of the poorest people in our country. In one article written by Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, he writes that entire towns and regions are now trapped in apparently inescapable economic downward spiral, and that this has been made worse by our politicians. What the Archbishop writes about certainly seems to reflect the experience of many people living here in Grimsby. People are here living on the margins of our society, and it's important that the Church gives a voice in this election build-up to some of the poorest people in our country. There are, of course, some who say that the Church shouldn't be involved in politics. But when I hear that, I'm reminded of the famous quote by Desmond Tutu, who said, "I don't know what Bible people are reading if they think that religion and politics don't mix." The Church has always been at its most effective when religion and politics are mixed. For example, it's doubtful that we'd have the National Health Service or the welfare state if it hadn't been without the Church's involvement in the Beveridge Report written in 1942. Jesus himself started his ministry quoting a political manifesto for people to follow. He did it in his hometown of Nazareth when he said in a crowded room in a local synagogue that he had come to bring good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives and recovery of the sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favour. If that's not mixing politics and religion, I don't know what is.
Emma Lingard will now bring us up to date with some of the weekend stories. Emma,
hello.
You've had a busy and dramatic weekend.
I have. I went to the theatre yesterday, I have to say. Went to Beverley, to the East Riding Theatre, to see John Godber's new play, Shafted, which he wrote, and he stars in it with his wife, Jane Thornton. Absolutely funny play. I mean, if you've ever seen any of John Godber's stuff, he is
amazing.
A fabulous writer, isn't he? Really, really brilliant. All about the miners' strike and sort of like a couple's life story through the ages and what they went through. And it's just brilliant. Pure comedy. Absolutely fabulous.
Well, you talk about the miners' strike, which makes one think of the three most depressing words in the English language, which are gritty northern drama. But this clearly isn't. This is a fun evening out.
It was brilliant. It was full of laughs. You know, there was the serious side and the message through, but you know, it was just pure Godber writing, and it was brilliant. I really must say I enjoyed it. And the music, you know, music from the 80s and 90s, it just brought back my days of being at school, you know, and it was just fabulous. So I enjoyed that, and the reason I mention it is because we were in Beverley. And obviously this Friday, it's the Tour de Yorkshire.
Yes.
And the whole of Beverley is just decorated in yellow and blue bunting. There are painted bikes outside all the cafes and the shops. And do you know what? It was a fabulous atmosphere. I mean, we were there in the daytime and we went out for a meal afterwards. And it's just buzzing. There are so many people there at the minute.
Did it feel French?
Well, yeah, there were also, I mean, yesterday was a beautiful spring day, wasn't it? And everybody sat outside and it was gorgeous. And lots of, you know, hearing international voices around you as well. It was amazing.
And the Tour de Yorkshire should be going through Beverley when?
It will. Friday it all starts.
Right.
They
it starts in Bridlington, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, and then it comes through Beverley. Okay. And I know we'll be there and we'll be bringing some more of the action from that. But yeah, real nice atmosphere. I enjoyed that.
You wish to tell me about caterpillars?
Caterpillars. Do you know, we do this story every year, but it seems when you go down the beach, there are lots of brown hairy caterpillars which make your skin itch. And these are back on the Lincolnshire coast. Brown-tailed moth caterpillars, and they basically create like big webs within all the bushes, and they've been spotted on the outskirts of Skegness. So there'll be more warnings about not going near them because they irritate the skin.
And they can be quite dangerous for pets, for dogs.
I believe so.
It can cause great inflammations of the tongue and the mouth for dogs.
If they try and eat them. Well, I know people are saying at the moment, be careful, because there are so many that people think they're spiders and they're not.
Now, Skegness is to become Las Vegas.
Hey,
what happens in Skeg stays in Skeg.
Yeah, well, Skeg Vegas, I shouldn't call it that, it's Skegness. It has been ranked as number 5 in the country as one of the holiday hotspots. Best place to own a holiday home, Skegness.
Absolutely. Well, it's so bracing, it doesn't surprise me at all. Skegness is a wonderful place.
Very beautiful, and it's been earmarked because Colleen Rooney, of course, wife of the footballer Wayne, has been spotted last month. Well, she got a holiday home there.
There goes the neighbourhood. Emma, thank you very much for coming in. Erica Barker is back. She has the sports news.
There's uncertainty at North Ferriby United today, with speculation that some players have been told they're free to find new clubs. Some players took to Twitter to show their displeasure at reportedly being told they can go, and also that the side may be forced to take voluntary relegation with the owners unwilling to spend more money. The Villagers have been up for sale since the middle of the month after Steve and Emmon Forster, son-in-law and daughter of Hull City owner Sam Alam, announced their intention to sell. The owners have released a statement saying they are fully committed to backing the club until they find a buyer. On the field, the Villagers drew 0-0 with Bradford Park Avenue on the final day of the Conference North season. Elsewhere, Hull City clinched a hugely important 3 points, winning 2-0 at Crystal Palace. Damon Doyce netted both goals in the game, which keeps the Tigers a point above the relegation zone ahead of Tuesday's home game against Liverpool. Scunthorpe United are now safe in League One. The Iron won 2-1 against Gillingham on Saturday. The fixture was delayed for nearly half an hour midway through the first half due to rain, with club staff having to help in efforts to clear the playing surface. All this was after Hakib Al-Alakim and Gary McSheffrey had scored for United. And Grimsby Town are now planning for their playoff campaign. The Mariners beat Aldershot 3-1, which included a Ross Hannah brace. And it wasn't a good weekend for our rugby league sides. Hull Kingston Rovers went down 32-24 to the Catalan Dragons on Saturday, while Hull FC lost 24-4 versus the Huddersfield Giants. Well, please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any sports stories with you. Until then, goodbye.
That's it for today. Contacts on the screen as usual. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Remaining chilly on Tuesday with sunny spells and scattered showers. Be still wintry on the highest ground, remaining windy throughout and a maximum temperature of 11 degrees Celsius. Windy with rain for Wednesday morning, followed by heavy showers.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.